Hello, everybody. My name is Barry Johns, and I have a YouTube channel called Studio Talk. Where I talk about all things project recording studio related, and that's a subject matter of my particular channel. Now, you may be watching this video because you watch my YouTube videos and you're interested in maybe pursuing your knowledge about how to do video work, whether it's for a YouTube channel or for other things. Or you may be coming from outside of this whole world right here, and that's fine too. What I'm going to do is kind of document my journey through this whole process, the things I've learned and the things that I've failed on. So I'm going to talk about particular subjects, and I'm also going to give some backstory to it about where I made mistakes, okay? So I hope you enjoy this video series. So let's get to the topic of today. Okay, so the first question that I get is, Barry, what camera do I need to use? Well, it's kind of like this. Cameras can be across the gamut as far as cost and as far as technical abilities, right? So, can you do a YouTube channel with a cell phone? You can. You can. Are you going to get the results that you're trying to get? Are they going to be professional looking results? Questionable for sure. But you can do it, right? So here's the thing with cameras, and then I'll talk about some of the mistakes because I made a lot of mistakes with my camera purchasing over the couple of years since I've been doing this. And so what I've learned along the way is it's not the camera, everybody. It is not the camera. The camera plays important part, okay? But the lens is by far the most important thing, okay? By far. The quality of your videos will be changed and affected dramatically by the lens that you choose. There's no skimping in this particular area. That's my recommendation. Now, I'm going to give you my journey because I want to be able to produce the very best content I'm capable of. So I'm going to talk about that, right? I'm not going to go into how you do this on a budget because I tried this on a budget, right? So let's talk about my budget journey, right? I started a YouTube channel back a few years ago with my wife. It was about a subject matter that she wanted to do. I didn't know anything about cameras, so I ordered a GoPro thinking, hey, I see these guys doing videos with GoPros. I'll just buy one of those, and that'll be a relatively inexpensive way to kind of get into this. Well, GoPros don't work really well inside. They just don't. They're not great for that. They're very wide angle. The field of view is very wide angle. It's almost too much. You get that fishbowl effect from the outside. I learned very quickly if you're primarily filming inside with a substituted lighting versus natural lighting, you're not going to get the image quality that you need from a GoPro. Next up, okay, I realized that wasn't going to work, so I flushed that money down the drain. That GoPro still sits in some drawer somewhere and has hardly ever been used, okay? Now, next up, okay, let me get a real camera because I didn't really know much about cameras at the time. I thought I was getting a real camera, and I'm talking about a real, like, potent, powerful camera. Of course, real camera. I mean, you can get a real camera disposable, right? So, the camera I decided to go with was the Canon M50, right? I'd watched a bunch of YouTube videos on how to get the best image for a low cost, and the Canon M50 kept showing up, right? And so I bought that camera. And of course, I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on great lenses that I thought were great lenses, but they were too good to be true. So ultimately, that M50 was not powerful enough to do what I wanted it to do, what I needed it to do. You can do good work with it. My daughter uses it for her TikTok videos and everything, and she gets great results with it, right? And so that's kind of an entry level kind of thing. You need an interchangeable lens camera so that you can get different focal lengths, okay? And a focal length is just how much are you getting in that frame, right? How much are you getting into it? Are you getting this much? Are you getting this much, okay? How far away are you? Those are focal lengths and things like that, okay? So from there, I started buying a bunch of inexpensive lenses because YouTube told me I needed to. Now, here's the hypocritical thing that I'm about ready to say because I'm sitting here giving you advice, but I'm going to tell you flat out, okay? The vast majority of YouTube channels out there where they're doing product reviews or giving you opinions on products, they're all sellouts, okay? They're all getting paid by the manufacturers to make those videos. To get an honest opinion is going to be next to impossible. I only have 3 or 4 camera related YouTubers that I watch and I respect their opinions. I found the majority of them are just full of it, okay? They're just trying to promote their channel, get as many views as possible, and will say whatever it takes, okay? I bet you I bought 3 or 4 of lenses that were in the anywhere from $50 to $200 range, right? I bought a bunch of those, right? No, they're garbage. They're garbage, garbage, garbage. I ended up buying so many different lenses to try to find out what was going to give me the results that I needed, that I ended up all that money that I'd spent on all those other things, had I just slowed myself down and really thought about the camera and the lens, that combination that I want to get into, because that is going to be super important and it's not cheap. I'm here to tell you it's not. I'm shooting this right now on a Sony a7 III with a Sigma 40 millimeter art lens. Okay. And so that I found I get incredible, incredible results. The other lens I use a lot, okay, and that is the Sigma 24 to 70, okay? So then, in other words, you can zoom in and zoom out. The lens I'm on right now, you can't. It's called a prime lens, which is a fixed focal length. Focal length is when you're zooming in or zooming out. It's important to understand these things. 24 to 70 is a powerful, powerful, powerful focal range. You can do just about anything with it, okay? And the Sigma art lens, the DGDN art lenses for the Sony cameras are phenomenal. Let's talk about the price of these things, okay? Buy used where you can. But let me tell you, when it comes to cameras and lenses, they retain their value very, very well. It's not like music gear back here that will lose its value oftentimes. Camera gear holds its value very well. So do not expect to save a ton of money. You can save money. Where you're going to save a ton of money is on the crap that I bought all the way to begin with, ended up don't use anymore because it's just crap, all right, and wasted all that money and flushed it all down the drain, okay? You need to be able to get a good solid lens and a good solid camera. Now, the Sony a7 III, I think, sells right now. You can get it with just the body only, I think around $1,800. You can probably get it used for around $1,400 to $1,500. That's my guess. You have to check on eBay or something like that. eBay's the best place really to buy used camera gear. It's really the only place that I've found so far that I trust, that's not marked up heavily by vendors or by, dealers and stuff like that. So this particular lens, I think the 40 millimeter, I think it was $1,200, around in there. I think I got it on sale for around $8.99 or something like that. And then that 24 to 70, that was recently on sale for as low as, I think, $7.99, and that's another $1,200 lens. Now, that 24 to 70 is just as good as Sony G Master 24 to 70, or at least the Gen 1. It was just as good. Actually, most reviews had it being better for half the price, okay? So you don't have to go all in. So why did I pick Sony versus Canon? Well, Nikon's not even a consideration because for video, they've really been behind the curve. I'm not a particular fan of Nikon, but that doesn't mean anything. If you're using it and it's doing a good job for you, that's all that matters, okay? But I only considered Canon and the a7 III, okay? And the Sony. I bought both. I bought the EOS R and the a7 III when I started this particular channel. After some of the other channels, what I'd learned from that, I expanded those cameras. So really, I wasn't sure which one I wanted to go with. I absolutely, the feel, the ergonomics of the Canon, the menu system was very simple, very easy to understand. The eye autofocus in video was phenomenal with it after a few firmware updates. But the R mount lenses are outrageously expensive. There's really no third-party lenses yet making lenses for the Canon. So ultimately, I sold that camera about a month ago. I don't typically need two cameras very often. So ultimately, what turned me off on Canon that made me wanted to sell it was those lenses. So okay, so at some point, I am going to buy the Sony a7 IV. I need that eye autofocus. It is literally a pain in the butt. You'll see some of my videos, especially if I'm doing a low aperture. Now, you'll learn these later on what that is if you don't know what it is, but that's when you get all the blurry stuff behind me. That's called bokeh. All right. And so to be able to do a wide open, which means you're getting as much light into that lens as possible. I'll talk about that later when I talk about exposure. Okay. But that eye autofocus is super, super, super important because I do have some problems occasionally, but I have what's called focus breathing where I'll be in front of you, but I'll go out of focus a little bit if I move my head to the left or the right. It's not doing it right now. And I know that because I'm looking at an Atmos Ninja 5. I'll talk about that later too, which lets me view myself from this side of the camera when I'm facing you. Okay. So that lens is going to be, and that camera is going to be super important. And so eye autofocus, if I'm buying today, I'm going for the a7 IV for video work. Now, photography, eye autofocus works fantastic on the a7 III and the a7 IV. Basically, all the Sony line of cameras, they're really known for incredible eye autofocus for photography. But for video work, you'll find that it's worth spending that extra $500 or $600 if you're a one-person gig, if you're doing it by yourself. So ultimately, try not to make the mistakes of buying things you don't need. If you want to get into this, understand the investment for the camera. Now, I'm going to tell you, I got a lot of stuff around me. I've got all kinds of lighting rigged up in the ceiling. I've got a big 36-inch soft light right in front of me. I mean, this is not cheap to do this if you want to do it the way I do it, okay? So ultimately, you can do a lot with quality lens, and a good camera that's going to match up well with that lens. It's going to be super important, okay? So take your time, save your money. Again, on the new part, $1,800 for the a7 III, another, let's say $1,100 for the lens. And if you're doing it similar to what I'm doing, I do the 24-70 if I only did one. When you do that, you can do the math and see how much money it takes for just getting the camera set up. Now, this doesn't include tripods and everything else. I'll talk about all the accessories that I use in another video, okay? So if you're going to get into video for this type of YouTube thing, your lens is super important and you want to pair that up with a great camera. I happen to shoot in 4K. Now, most YouTubers are shooting at 1080p or uploading at 1080p due to file size. I don't do that. I'm at 4K because I want to future-proof myself for later on down the road. So I do all of mine in 4K. So you want to have a camera, and most cameras today can do it, where you're going to get into the camera features. If you find you're going to do slow motion and things like that, you've got to really, and if you want to do it at 4K, then you're going to need to really look at the specs of that computer to make sure that it can do it. All right. And so, or do it the way you need it to. And so ultimately, hopefully this has helped you in understanding the camera, learning from my mistakes, learning from the things I've done wrong. And ultimately, hopefully I can save you a little bit of money while you're trying to figure out what camera and lens is right for your YouTube channel. All right. Until next time, hope every one of you have a great day. I'll continue with these videos as I think them off the top of my head. All right. Bye-bye.